Hi friends, BRICS summit begins in South Africa today. The Western countries are curiously watchful. They are awaiting with bated breath. Why so much they are worried? The Western countries? There are certain reasons. The first one is that BRICS is for the first time posing biggest ever challenge to G7. And another factor is BRICS is not an old forum, it is a very, very new forum, just launched in 2009. Whereas G7, it was started in 1973 only. And another factor is the BRICS represents third world. Third world means the mostly underdeveloped countries of global south, from Asia, Africa and Latin America. If you seat all them together, the BRICS nation together represents 26% of world GDP, 42% of world population, and as big as 27% of geographical area of the world. But it emerged very fast, emerging very fast as a worthy competitor of G7. This is also a fact. G7 is almost, as regards status is concerned, almost equal to the BRICS. They also having 35% of world GDP. And of course, only 10% of population. This is the comparison between the two. So here it looks as if there is a political and economic warfare in BRICS versus G7, between developing and developed countries, between oppressed and the oppressor, and also between exploiters and the exploited. BRICS represents, in fact, the sterling lot which are disgruntled, aggrieved, exploited by the West in the past for centuries. This move would level the playing ground, giving opportunity to BRICS to thrive in international market and geopolitical space. This is all about the introduction. Now let us see the thrust area, the main area where these countries are concentrating, the BRICS is concentrating. First of all is expansion. BRICS is only today comprised of 5 countries, as I told you earlier, but expanding very fast. You can imagine 70 countries are almost, they are participating in the summit in South Africa, 15th summit of South Africa. Almost 40 countries are in queue. They are interested to join BRICS. So is West is worried. If at all these countries join BRICS, this would be a very big and tough competitor of G7. They are worried for it. This is number 1 thrust area. Number 2 thrust area is common currency. Common currency as regards the BRICS is concerned. BRICS is seeking for a common currency. And common currency, they have the planning of 2 types. First is for long-term planning and second is the short-term planning. Long-term planning they are making because suddenly they cannot make common currency to replace dollar. It is not possible because huge prerequisites are required. Without prerequisites, this is a common currency would be a hipped concept. That will not be possible. So even if today the preparation for the prerequisites start, it will take at least 10 years time to complete. So therefore they have short-term objectives. Short-term objective means that these 5 countries and whoever countries are in BRICS plus, they all will try to diminish the use of dollars, minimize the use of dollars. And then slowly, gradually, they should go for their own trade in their own local currencies, national currencies. So for big term, for long term, the common currency to replace dollar, and for short term, the business will go, trade will go in their own currencies, local currency or national currency, whatever it is. Another factor is the third one, as I said, the thrust area. First I said expansion, second is currency, common currency, third is new development bank. There is a bank also there. It's an organ of the BRICS. This was launched in 2014 only. And they are seeking to replace World Bank and IMF. They are competitor of the World Bank and the IMF. So, who are the members? Members of the bank, the development bank is the BRICS countries, nations, and also 4 or 5 more countries. They have become the member of this bank. They are Bangladesh, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Egypt and Uruguay. These 4 countries have joined along with the 5 main members of the BRICS. Then another factor is that this new development bank have various developmental projects scattered all over members countries. Many projects are there. The total projects amounting to $33 billion. And then the seed amount, the bidding amount, total was deposited to this bank was $50 billion. Each member, 5 members, had deposited $10 billion each one. Altogether is a $50 billion. And then the main attraction as regards this bank is concerned is the contingent reserve arrangement. Contingent reserve arrangement is a new organ. You cannot find this kind of organ in World Bank or International Monetary Fund. This particular amount is reserved for emergency use for struggling countries. If you need today some amount from this bank, they will give it to you to support in the struggling process of you. So this is a new attraction. That is the reason, perhaps this is one of the reasons that the entire third world countries are rushing towards BRICS to become member, to join as a member. This is all about thrust area. As I said, the 3 thrust areas are there. Now let us see analysis. First one is, it is very, very tough for India to survive in the BRICS. It's not easy because India has to fight at 2 fronts. Inside the BRICS, India has to fight against Chinese domination. China is likely to dominate over there by means of its economic strength. And on the other front is the outside front. Outside front is to maintain cordial relationship with the Western countries. Western countries should not have the impression that India is totally surrendered to BRICS. India is still non-aligned. So here India is aligned to BRICS, but tough to show as if India is non-aligned. Here is the biggest challenge for India to survive. Now let's see number 2. Number 2, economic strength of BRICS is the basis on which the BRICS will survive in future and to be a tough competitor of G7. But only China is growing very fast. In 2009, when the BRICS was launched, that time China had 6 trillion, total GDP was $6 trillion. And today, $22 trillion. So China in fact has made BRICS very important forum to compete against the developed countries. Yes, India is also growing. In 2009, India's total GDP was 1.7 trillion. Today's total GDP is 3.9 trillion. 3.90 trillion is a big one, but not as big, not as fast as China is. So at least China is the backbone of the economic health of the BRICS. So this is our second. Third one is the BRICS countries has been backing solidly Russia, particularly after invasion of Ukraine. These countries are aware that Russia had invaded for self-interest, for self-security of Russia. And these NATO countries are harassing them. So these 4 countries supporting Russia solidly from behind. None of them supported resolutions in United Nations against Russia, except one time by Brazil. At least other three countries never supported, never condemned, never supported any resolutions against Russia. Moreover, India is solidly behind Russia as regards bilateral trade is concerned. Trade has grown up so fast with Russia that normally does not happen. The bilateral trade has gone up so much and so high as if it is manifold and almost nearly historical level. This has gone. Even Brazil also. Brazil, after the war started in Ukraine, Brazil completely taking all imports of fertilizer particularly from Russia only. This is also support to Russia. Now, there is a likelihood Modi and Xi Jinping will meet. Yes, meeting of these two countries after a long time is very significant. More significant is what is the outcome of that meeting, because 22 times they have already met earlier. What is the result? Result is Doklam and Ladakh. Hope this time the outcome will be a positive one, will not be negative anymore. So I said that their meeting is important, but more important is the outcome, the positive results. So this is about the third point. Fourth one is that BRICS forum is seen as the only saving grace, the only option which can contest, which can compete against the Western countries. No other forum is there. Next one is that unhealthy and fractured relationship between India and China is the biggest obstacle before the image of the BRICS. BRICS should look like an united front, united forum, but here China, India is giving different impressions. If China and India cannot maintain peace on border, how they can aspire unity amongst the BRICS? This is the biggest problem. World should have faith that these institutions, BRICS, is responsible to maintain world financial sectors. If they don't believe you, you cannot survive it. So, these two countries, in the interest of BRICS, should forget about their differences. Whatever it is there on the border, it has to be sorted out as fast as possible. Now, next one is the Brazil. Brazil is also very cautious. There should not be any impression against Western countries. They are also trying to avoid strains with the Western countries, not only India. Another important development has just recently started. The BRICS Forum is planning to launch a new university ranking system. What is new university ranking system? Details have not yet come. Next one is BRICS Summit. This BRICS Summit, 15th BRICS Summit, which is held in South Africa, Johannesburg, they are supposed to discuss food security problem. Particularly, the war started in Ukraine. The food security is a crisis now. They are supposed to discuss it. Then national security also. There should not be any security crisis between the members of the BRICS as happening with India and China. Then another issue also to be discussed is terrorism, the security of the nation, terrorism and economic cooperation. Okay, common currency would be made later, but some kind of cooperation should be ensured at this stage. As regards India, China, yes, it looks today, even if there is a talk and talk is successful between Modi and Xi Jinping, rivalry will continue for one or the other region, even if the border is sorted out, border dispute is sorted out. It will continue. As because the decision is taken on the floor of BRICS unanimously. all the countries will have to one opinion, then only anything will move. So even if suppose, China cannot afford to avoid India. Now the ball is there in the court of China to ensure that China should not misuse this platform as its self-interest, the platform of its self-interest. So this is all about the BRICS, and hopeful the BRICS will survive, BRICS will grow, and if not replace the domination of the Western countries, it can minimize, it can bring to the level of democratic world. Thank you very much to each and every one of you.